There is a moment, and you may have lived it, when you are absolutely certain something happened. You saw it with your own eyes. You felt it in your own body. And then the person you trust most in the world looks you straight in the face and says, "That never happened." Not maybe. Not I don't remember. Not I think you're mistaken. They say it with absolute calm, as if you're the one who must have lost your mind. And here is the question this episode is built around. If the person who knows you best tells you that what you saw, what you felt, what you remember did not happen, who do you believe? Yourself or them? If you have ever hesitated before answering that question, then you have already met the subject of today's story. It has a name. We call it gaslighting. The word comes from a film made in 1944. A husband secretly dims the gas lamps in his house every evening. The wife notices the lights growing fainter. She mentions it. He smiles and tells her, calmly, that the lamps are exactly as bright as they always were. Night after night, the lights grow dimmer. Night after night, he tells her she is imagining it, until she begins to wonder if perhaps she really is. Perhaps her mind is failing. Perhaps everything she perceives is wrong. By the end of the film, she does not trust her own eyes. She does not trust her own memory. She does not trust her own sanity. And the husband, who has engineered every bit of it, looks at her with a kind of patient pity, as if she were the broken one. Decades later, psychologists borrowed the name. They began to use it for a specific kind of psychological abuse. The kind that does not leave bruises. The kind that erases your reality and rewrites it in someone else's handwriting. Make no mistake, gaslighting is not lying. Lying you can fight. You can produce evidence. You can call a witness. Gaslighting is something colder and far more dangerous. It is the systematic destruction of your trust in your own mind. And here's what makes it work. The gaslighter does not need you to believe their version of events. They only need you to stop believing your own. Gaslighting is not a single act. It is a process. It unfolds in stages, and the early stages do not feel like abuse at all. They feel like love. Stage 1, idealization. The gaslighter floods you with attention, with affection, with the feeling that you have finally been truly seen. You feel chosen, special, understood in a way no one has ever understood you before. This stage is not pretending. The gaslighter is not coldly faking emotion. They believe their own performance. And that is exactly why it is so disarming. Because it feels real. Because it is, in a sense, real. Stage 2, the first small doubt. It comes so casually you almost miss it. A passing comment. You're being too sensitive. That is not what I said. You always make a big deal out of nothing. You feel a small confusion, a flicker of something wrong. But the relationship is still warm. You still feel chosen. So you let it go. You apologize. You wonder if perhaps you're being too sensitive after all. Stage 3, repetition. The small doubts become a pattern. They appear in every disagreement, every misunderstanding, every memory of every event and they were both present for. Slowly, the question shifts. It is no longer what happened. It is what is wrong with me. Stage 4, replacement. By now, your old reality is gone. The gaslighter's version has taken its place. You no longer remember events the way you originally experienced them. You remember the way they have told you to remember them. And here is the most haunting part. You will defend their version. You will tell other people that yes, you used to be confused, but now you understand. You used to be too sensitive, but they helped you see clearly. You used to be a mess, and they saved you from yourself. The gaslighter does not need to keep working at this point. You will do their work for them. You have internalized their voice. You have replaced your own judgment with theirs. The cage no longer needs a lock. You will not try to leave. You may be wondering at this point, how does this happen to intelligent people? To strong people? To people who would never describe themselves as gullible? The answer reaches deep into how the human mind is built. We are social animals. For most of human history, being cast out of the tribe was the same as being killed. Our nervous systems learned, over millions of years, that maintaining connection is more important than being right. When the person you depend on tells you that what you perceive is wrong, your brain faces an unbearable choice. Trust your senses and risk losing the relationship. Or doubt your senses and keep the bond intact. Most of the time, the bond wins. Erich Fromm the German psychoanalyst who fled the rise of fascism in Europe, spent his life studying this exact moment. He called it the escape from freedom. He said the deepest human fear is not loneliness. It is being completely on our own. Fromm understood that people will trade almost anything to avoid that aloneness, including their own perception of reality, including their own sense of self. We will surrender the inside of our own minds rather than face the abyss of standing completely alone. This is why gaslighting works. It is not because the victims are weak. It is because the gaslighter has found the oldest leverage in human psychology, and they are pulling it. There are signs. There are always signs. If you suspect you're being gaslit, look for these. The first sign is chronic confusion. After conversations with this person, you walk away feeling foggy. You cannot quite reconstruct what was said. You feel like you lost an argument you do not even remember having. The second sign is the apologizing. You find yourself apologizing constantly, often for things you cannot identify. You say sorry before you fully understand what you are sorry for. The word becomes reflex. The third sign is the secret evidence. You start keeping notes. You save messages. You photograph receipts. Not because you are paranoid, but because you no longer trust yourself to remember accurately. You need proof. From yourself, for yourself. The fourth sign is the explaining. You spend an enormous amount of energy explaining this person to other people, defending their behavior, filling in context. They're not always like this. You don't understand them the way I do. They are going through a lot. The fifth sign is the most painful. You do not remember who you used to be. The person you were before this relationship feels like a stranger. Your old certainties are gone. Your old laughter is gone. You miss yourself. Gaslighting does not stay in private rooms. It scales. Once you understand the mechanism, you start to see it everywhere. In politics, in media, in advertising, in entire institutions designed to make you distrust what you see with your own eyes. When a regime tells you that the food shortage is not happening. When a corporation tells you that the river is not poisoned. When a movement tells you that a thing you watched on 100 cameras did not occur. That is gaslighting at industrial scale. Hannah Arendt, who lived through the rise of one of the most successful gaslighting regimes in human history, wrote that the goal is not to make you believe a lie. The goal is to make you believe nothing at all. A person who believes nothing can be moved by anything. So how do you find your way back? How do you climb out? The first step is the hardest because it requires you to do the very thing you've been trained not to do. You have to trust your first instinct, not your second thought, not your fifth doubt. The very first feeling, the one that arrived before the gaslighter spoke, before the explanations, before the apologies. That feeling was real. Begin there. The second step is to find a witness. Not a judge, not an advisor, a witness. Someone outside the relationship who can hear your story without being inside the spell. Speak out loud to them. Watch their face. Their reaction will tell you what your gut already knows. And the third step is the longest. You have to slowly, patiently learn to inhabit your own mind again, like a house that has been abandoned for years. The lights still work. The rooms are still yours. You just have to walk in and stay. There's one last thing worth saying. If someone has spent months or years telling you that you're crazy, and now you're reading this and a quiet voice inside you is saying, "This is what happened to me," listen to that voice. That voice is the part of you they cannot reach. They told you that you were broken because you saw something they did not want you to see. You were not broken. You were awake. And the moment you stop apologizing for being awake is the moment your real life can begin again.